In this tutorial, we will show you how to configure stop functions. Warning: this tutorial does not replace the user manual. Please make sure to read through the user manual before using the configuration tool. Using this configuration tool affects the safety of the machine. Only authorized and instructed operators are allowed to use this tool. To follow this tutorial, you need to be logged in. Now open a new configuration. Select Safety Functions Access 1 in the menu on the left. Here you can configure various safety functions to be used as stop functions. First, we have the Sto function. Sto is always present and cannot be removed. The Sto function is requested through a request signal. Sto will also be activated through other safety functions if there is an error. Sto is short for Safe Torque Off. This means a motor will be shifted to a state of having no torque or force. If bel.guard goes into safe operation mode, Sto will always automatically be activated. Despite always being present, Sto must be configured. To configure it, select Safe Torque Off in the menu on the left. The output signal Sto out is very significant. It must be linked to an output which will safely switch off the torque of the motor. Note that the motor does not have torque when the output is turned off to 0 volt. In other words, the motor can only be turned on and produce force if this signal is set to 24 volt. For now, we will link the Sto out signal to the output Q1. To be able to set the output to 24 volt, the request signal must be connected to an input. To do that, click on the value field of input selection Sto request and connect an input signal to it. The Sto output will switch to 24 volt if and only if this input is also set to 24 volt and there is no error or no other condition detected that leads to Sto. If you leave the settings as they were predefined, it will have the value of 0. Thus, the request is always set to 0, the output of Sto will always be set to 0, and the motor can never build up force. Back in the Safety Functions Access 1 tab, we see the stop function SBC below Sto. To activate it, insert the value of 1. In some application situations, it is necessary to have an active brake when the motor is shut off, since the motor has no force to keep it in position. Typical use scenarios for this function are vertical axes. The function SBC is closely coupled with the Sto function. This means that as soon as you configure SBC to be used, it will be linked to Sto. Within SBC, there are 2 delay times that can be configured. You can configure whether Sto is activated first and the brake second, and how long the delay time between the 2 activations is. You can also configure it to be the opposite way, for the brake to be activated first and then the Sto function. The same function can be constructed in the release of the brake and the deactivation of Sto. To configure this function, in the first field, we choose the order of activation of SBC and Sto. The parameter T1, which can be found further below, is interlinked with this function. The parameter T2 is connected to the brake release function. There are 2 particular settings that may be set in configuring SBC. First, the mute request signal and the mute function of SBC. Using this function, you may release the brake in case of Sto being active. It may be a necessary function to be used for maintenance reasons. Make sure to realize all relevant safety measures if you need to use this function. There is a further function called force function. This function allows you to keep the brake activated despite the STO being deactivated. Using this force function, you can first generate a torque of the motor before it is set into motion, and the brake will be deactivated afterwards. A further stop function to be configured is SS1. To use it, go to the Safety Functions Axis 1 tab and set the value of SS1 to 1. SS1 is a stop function which automatically requests STO when coming to an end. Different than the simple STO, SS1 leaves time to decelerate the axis until standstill. Only in the moment in which the axis is standing still will the torque of the motor be turned off. Parameters of SS1. The way the deceleration phase is monitored can be selected through using Monitor mode. The first setting is the Monitor mode T1. In this mode, only a time is given, and after this time has run out, STO will be activated. In the Monitor mode T1 and V0, as before, T1 will be monitored, and STO will be activated latest after T1 has run out. If before the time T1 the axis is in standstill, bel.guard recognizes this and activates STO. The third monitor mode is T1, V0, and ramp. In this mode, additionally to our previous functions, it is monitored whether the axis is being decelerated. If the axis continues to move without deceleration, then this is an error which is recognized and will lead to the shutdown of the motor, STO. Parameters for SS1 monitoring. T1 is the maximum time to activate STO after SS1 is requested. Here, one can put in a time which won't be exceeded in a normal operation mode. The parameter V0 is the standstill speed. Bel.guard will consider a velocity less than V0 as standstill. To configure this, go to the Configuration Axis 1 tab and set the parameter called Zero Speed V0. This parameter exists once for each axis. Back in our SS1 function, we will now look at ramp monitoring. We will make use of multiple parameters and a deceleration ramp. The ramp will be defined by a speed at the start of the ramp and the time which will be used for deceleration from the starting speed to 0. Here we must put in nominal values, a nominal speed and a nominal time. The nominal speed should roughly be the maximum speed of the axis. The nominal deceleration time of the deceleration ramp should be the necessary time to decelerate from maximum speed to standstill. Furthermore, we have the parameters TD1 and TD2. TD1 is a short delay time which the system requires to switch into deceleration phase. TD2 is the delay time to activate STO after the speed has decreased below zero speed V0. The impact of the time can be read on the diagram above. The SS1 function has an output signal called SS1 reached. This signal shows that the deceleration ramp is concluded and the motor is switched off, torque off. It can be connected to an output and, for example, be used to grant access to a protected area. Further, there is the SS2 function. It is another save stop function. The difference to the previous ones is that the motor is still active in controlled mode. SS2 is to be used if an axis must be stopped temporarily and safely. It has nearly the same parameters as SS1. SS2 always activates the function Safe Operating Stop, SOS. SOS also has parameters to be configured. SOS monitors the standstill state of the axis and only permits a small deviation of position while being monitored. This deviation limit is a parameter that can be set here. In case SOS detects motion of the axis above that limit, the motor will be deactivated with STO. Now you have successfully configured your stop functions. Make sure to check out our other tutorials on how to use the bel.guard configuration application.